Welcome to the Whitetail Advantage Podcast with your host, Brett Bovin. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy the show.
What is up, everyone, and welcome to the motherfucking Electronic Campfire. I'm your host, Brett Bovin. And before we get into tonight's show, there's a lot of things I have. Everyone knows the intro. Everyone knows we're not politically correct on this show. But I just want to take a second and say my hearts and prayers go out to Charlie Kirk and his family. Prayers and thoughts go out to them. But my heart's racing right now because that's a man that I looked up to and still do to this day. And to take a side of this, probably some people don't see this. If you don't, I had to write this down actually because I knew I'd get sidetracked. If you don't think this was an attack on our free speech, you're a fucking dumbass. They're trying to tell everyone out there that if you speak out, we're going to fucking kill you. Charlie wasn't the aggressive person. He was a person that went out there to have open and be willing to go out there and have open dialogue with everybody out there from all different backgrounds and whatever you want to say. And he was fucking killed for it. I'm done tolerating this shit and done tolerating excuses. And this is, at the end of the day, this is good versus evil. And we all try to be good people, and we all try to hear that little voice in our head and say, convince ourselves that maybe we could be a little more tolerant, be a little bit more accepting. But the problem is they don't fucking tolerate us. So, and if you're that stupid to continue to give tolerance and that type of behavior to those people, then they're going to be the same people out there to kill you. Yeah, that's the end of my rant. Anyways. Welcome to tonight's show. Our host, let me bring in our host before we get onto our news for tonight, because we have 3 big announcements we got to make. Isn't that right, Squatch?
Yeah, we got some good ones.
Yeah. And excited for our guest, though, Derek. This is actually going to be his 3rd time on the show. The most a guest has been on the show, besides like a co-host and like buddies that we've been having on the show. He's the most repetitive person that's been on the show so far, so I'm excited about that. What's the first big news, Squatch? You want to release it, or you want me to say it?
Well, I'm appreciative of what you've done, so why don't you take the honors on that one?
All right. We've added a new teammate. He's not here for tonight's show. Got a little busy. We've added Frank as the new teammate from Broadside Ambush. Frank. He's the newest member of Whitetail Advantage. I'm excited about that. And you know what, Squatch? It's yours. It's your thing. So you say this part of the news.
Well, Brett has granted Frank and I to have our own sister show of Whitetail Advantage, and it's going to be called the Frank and Squatch Show. And yours truly, myself, and Mr. Frank Mystique at Broadside Ambush Frank, we're going to bring you some cool stuff as a little sideshow to Whitetail Advantage, and it's going to be a good time. So I hope everybody's going to, join us, and we'll have some cool stuff on. We're getting some nitty gritties and some real good, technical advice on some stuff. Maybe some bow tech talk, maybe some, old time tricks and of the trade here that we do when we're out hunting. And we'll be happy to share our experiences with you and have on whoever wants to be on. But, as I'll speak for Frank and myself, we'd like to thank you, Brett, for extending that olive branch out to us and saying, hey, guys, why don't you do something for yourselves on here?
I'm excited for you guys. I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah.
The third piece is Johnny is going to be having his own show, too. The Whitetail Advantage presents Johnny's show, Mysteries in the Timber, covering paranormal, cryptics, Sasquatches, the Wolfman here in Michigan, all the paranormal stuff. So we're excited about that. He loves that shit. So we're excited about that. Let him get more into that when he has his own show. But with that being said, let's get back in for tonight's show. We're talking Magnus Broadheads. We're talking about with Derek Craig. We're also going to be probably diving deep into. So he's from Indiana. We're going to be learning a little bit more about his hunting there in Indiana, and he also just got back from a safari hunt out there in Africa. So I'm actually really curious to pick his brains on that, because I've seen more and more people go out to Africa and hunt out there and really like it too. I remember talking with I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. The owner of Grizz Media. He said, if you want to learn conservation, go to Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So enough of me chit chatting. Let's bring in our guest, Derek, for tonight's show.
All right.
Hey, Derek.
Hey guys, how you guys doing?
Good.
How you doing?
Doing good. So,
Oh,
yep, sorry, there was a little technical snafu there on the front end on my part, but it looks like we got it figured out. So,
we're all good, man. So, for anyone that doesn't know you, can you give a little background about yourself first?
yeah, Derek Craig, live in the northeast corner of Indiana. Primarily bow hunt. Very, very seldom do I take a gun out to chase any type of animals outside of waterfowl. But yeah, I film hunts, do a lot of filming in the outdoor space. Been working for Magnus Broadheads since 2009. Work with a variety of other companies in the hunting space. In my mid 50s, I'm 56. I got two daughters. They're 24 and 26. Both of them grew up hunting. My oldest doesn't really hunt anymore. My youngest still does whenever she gets a chance. She's away at school getting her master's degree right now, so her hunting time is very limited. But yeah, that's kind of me. I just ate up with bow hunting, ate up with hunting in particular, mostly deer and turkeys, a little bit of waterfowl. Not as much as I used to, but do hunt some waterfowl, and yeah, just enjoy. I get to play in the hunting space and the hunting industry, and I pinch myself every day because I can't believe that get to live this dream of working in this space and doing all this fun stuff, and being on podcasts and various other things. It's just been a great. Just been great the last 15 or so years in this space. So
Nice.
That's awesome, man. And I know you were, or you're still doing, you're an engineer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm actually an engineer. So I actually have a real job as well. I'm an engineer. I'm a forensic engineer. So I go and I investigate buildings for the most part when something happens. Let's say a vehicle plows into a side of a building. Okay, you look at that and go, okay, how much damage was done? How far did the damage extend? What's got to be done to fix it? Our company that I work for, we're typically hired by insurance companies, attorneys, stuff like that to look into large losses and everything. So, anything from the littlest mundane stuff that can happen to a residential building or a commercial or industrial building, all the way up to catastrophic type of events on those buildings. So
let's dive.
Yep.
I know that you were just recently out to Africa for your hunt, correct?
Yeah, I got back from Africa about, what's it been now? At least I'd say a little over 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, something like that. Yeah, we went to Africa, went bow hunting in Africa. As a group of us, all shooting Magnus heads. So the Magnus heads performed incredible. But yeah, we went to Africa on a plains game hunt for 10 days and just had the time of our lives in Africa. South Africa is where we went to. So,
nice.
Yep. So
what's one thing that, while learning out there in Africa, how long were you there in Africa for?
We hunted for 10 days. We hunted for 10 days, but we were there for a little over 2 weeks. We were there, I think, like 15 days total. So we hunted for 10 days, and then about 5 days on the tail end, we did just touristy type of stuff, which was a lot of fun because several of us took our wives along, and the wives had fun during the hunting camp. My wife didn't go hunting or anything really with me. But on the tail end, everybody just had fun being tourists, going and doing touristy stuff in South Africa. So yeah, for 2 weeks, solid. I was there and South Africa. It was quite the experience. So
What's one thing that you think, or you might have more than one thing that you could learn, that you learned in Africa that you think that we should probably take here in the state side on conservation, or maybe your state in its own way, or that you could learn in your own way?
yeah,
Is there anything?
so I mean, the whole thing about hunting in Africa is those animals do not exist without a value being assigned to them. So the only reason that they have as many animals that they do is because we as hunters are willing to go over there and spend money to hunt them. And it feels a little weird on the front end because, when you think about hunting, say here in the Midwest, like in Indiana where I'm at, you have got deer and turkeys, small game, squirrels, rabbits, stuff like that, some waterfowl. So it's not like you have a plethora of different species. And it's easy to say, well, okay, to hunt a deer, a tag is X dollars, and all that. And you can assign, somewhat of value to it. But when you're over there in Africa, say, for example, an impala might have a value of, say, $1,000 or $1,200 versus, say, a kudu might have a value assigned to it of, say, $4,200 or $4,800 or $5,000, and everything's in between because there's so many different animals, and it kind of feels weird hunting them because when they're coming in, you're doing a bunch of mental gymnastics. You're looking at an animal going, okay, is he kind of cool? Like, would I be interested in shooting that animal? Because some you might look at and go, yeah, I have no desire to shoot that animal. And then B, you're also thinking of it through the lens of an economics, because we all go into a hunt or anything pretty much in life and say, well, I'm willing to spend X dollars. I mean, you go out to dinner, with some friends, and, you might go all in and get the most expensive steak and the most expensive drinks, or you might go in and go, you know what, I'm coming here tonight to spend $50, and so I'm going to get this and I'm going to get that. And it's very similar. So you go into it with this mindset, looking at everything's got a value. How much am I wanting to spend? Which is not what we're used to here, again, in the United States, because we don't have that many different animal species to hunt in any one area. I mean, maybe you go out west and you got, let's say you're in Montana, and you got elk, you got moose, you got whitetail, you got mule deer, some black bear. So yeah, you got 5 or 6 game species, but you still don't have 30 or 40 or whatever it is, that they have there. So the basic principle of it is, because those animals over there have got an assigned value to them and a monetary value to them, that's the reason they have them. If we didn't come over and they weren't willing to spend the money that and pay for that value, then the locals would have hunted them to extinction, so that they could eat. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, they're looking for food, to feed themselves, and also it becomes their economic driver. I mean, the number one economic, the largest economic component to the South African economy is tourism. And the largest majority of the tourism dollars come from hunting. I mean, obviously, you got people who just want to go sightseeing or do this and that. There's that. But the largest amount of the tourism dollars come from us as hunters. So because of that, because of the dollars, that's where the conservation component of it kicks in. Which, I mean, in some ways, you could come back here to the United States and say, maybe, we're blessed, obviously, in the North American model that we have, and all the public lands that we have and different resources that we have. Yep. But then sometimes I wonder if the whole thing from a financial standpoint isn't somewhat cheapened a little bit. And maybe, everybody complains that tags are so expensive, or leasing or outfitting is expensive. And it is, but then I go, when you actually put a financial dollar to it, and a sizable one that when you notice, I mean, if you buy a $50 deer tag, that's $50. But if you got to buy a $500 deer tag, that impacts your wallet, and you're a little more conscious of, everything that goes into that animal, what that animal means, not only to yourself, but ecologically. And so sometimes I wonder that maybe if things weren't a little more expensive across the board, it might help us from a conservation standpoint. I mean, it's a catch-22, and I get it, because I hate how expensive leasing and outfitters are and all that. But I always think that anytime something is, for the most part, when something is free or doesn't cost you much, we tend to take advantage or take things for granted. I mean, if you've hunted your grandparents', land for 20 years, not that you aren't grateful to your grandparents, but you kind of just take it for granted that you've got this land that your grandparents had, versus if you had to spend $2,000 or $3,000 or $5,000 every year to lease that land to hunt it. Well, then you got a vested financial interest in it. And in doing so, you got an interest in taking care of the land. You got an interest in managing the animals, theoretically, you don't have to, managing the animals better. Maybe going out and helping mend fences, or helping watch and keep trespassers out, and the whole thing. So, I mean, some of those principles from South Africa and that management mindset can translate over here to the United States. And I don't know where the best balance is of it, because again, we all complain about hunting becoming a rich man's sport. And unfortunately it kind of is in many cases. But then again, I go, well, if it was all free, and you just, you just go knock on Farmer Ted's door, and he just lets you go, and another guy go, and another guy go. And if it were that way across the board, well, next thing you know, there is no value to it, and there's no incentive for us as hunters to make the hunting better, the landscape better, manage the animals better. It just becomes going out and shooting deer or turkeys or whatever it is. And so I don't know, somewhere in there's the balance. So
yeah, I think a lot of stuff kind of hit home. So for instance, going down to Indiana, we were Johnny and Dave still going to Indiana to hunt, but I had to back out for some personal reasons. But I think it was like $600 to $800 to cost to go down there to hunt. And I think the tag itself was, for out of state, was $250 to $300, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's in the 250 ballpark range. I think
it's not cheap, but it's not expensive.
Yeah.
And I think for Indiana, for an out of state license, I think that is very, I don't want to use the word affordable, but acceptable. Like it's a great price point for other states, considering Indiana is a top 10 big boomer state, big giant buck state. And so I was a little surprised at that. And then when you, like, for instance, here in Michigan, I draw a blank on a residence, because non-residence tax, because I don't think people want to come here and hunt because it's fucking Michigan. But for like a combo license here in Michigan is like $50 to $80. So it's still expensive, but it's not cheap. And
right.
I think, I'm trying to figure out how I want to say this. We take hunting for granted in our own way, and like, Scotch, maybe you can help me out. I'm drawing a blank how I want to go with this. Just on the price point of it.
It's what you're trying to say is the value of what you have to pay isn't equaling, the actual hunt itself. Is it really worth the added expense to take that kind of stuff on? I think, it's got to have that balance. You got to have that balance. Like when I went out to Ohio last year, you had to buy the main license, for there first, and then the bow license, and then the doe permit and whatever. So it added up. I think it was like in the 250s when I went out there. That Indiana's probably not much different, but we in New York, when they changed the licensing around the way that they used to sell the license, it was cheaper. Like you could get your whole caboodle of your tags and everything. It used to be about $65 for like everything. But then they started combining stuff and making it more all one license, and then just making you get an archery tag, and they called it the Super Sportsman and all this crap. And then by the time everything ends up, I'm at $97 a year, basically, to hunt land that I own and ask permission if I can do it. You know what I mean? And it's kind of sucks, you know. I mean, it's like, I don't think I should have to do that. There should be another exception for that. But, you know, to get back to like what Derek was saying, in relationships, when you have to lease a piece of land versus knocking on a door and getting permission, you know, the thing I concentrate on with that helps me a little bit is having insurance. It's the first thing I say to somebody: look, you know, I'm interested in hunting your place. First thing I want to let you know is I am totally insured by a multi-million-dollar liability insurance coverage. I can provide you with the paperwork. Also, I can provide you with references of people in the last 20 years that I've hunted on their land and stuff like that. And you'll luck out. Sometimes you'll get that handshake deal. I had a handshake deal, but then somebody tried encroaching on that, and I had to lease it. But still, I only leased the spot for $500 for the year, and it was 58 acres. So, you know, it was worth it for me for the $500 to just have that peace of mind, and I was the only one that could go in there. You know, I didn't mind it. And like you said, and, you know, I mow in there and do all that stuff with the bush hog and whatever, you know, anything I can do to help out. It's little things.
I still can't believe, not to cut you off, I can't believe I'm my 20th year hunting. I'm 31 years old. That was a thing that we talked about on the last show. Hunting insurance.
Yes.
That's the thing. I didn't like, I pay like, what did you say, like $35 for the entire 35 year?
If anybody's interested, look up United New Jersey Bow Hunting Organization. And, you know, it's New Jersey United Bow Hunters is the name of the organization. You can go online. You can get the application and fill everything out. You pay the $35 for the membership, and you're covered in all 50 states with multi-million-dollar liability insurance. If you want to print it out, you can print it out and give it to the landholder and say, here's the proof that I'm okay. And that was one valid argument that I had when this other guy came in trying to encroach on the property. I said, yeah, well, you want to let him in here? I said, is he covered by insurance? No. I said, well, something happens, you're on the hook. If something happens to me, nothing's going to happen. So, you know, it's a good point to have. And you know what? It's good on your part anyway to have it, because, you know, you're covered. If something happens, God forbid, you're covered. You know, you don't have to worry about this happening or that happening. And you know, especially with older people, you know, maybe you got an older couple that still have like some land and stuff, and they hear all these horror stories. Oh, George let Mike go on the farm and he twisted his ankle. Now he's suing him. No, I always tell them I have insurance. I'll sign a waiver. You're not responsible for anything, you know, and if you do that and you show people, you know, references, even if they're interested, you know, usually you can get in. Still around here, I mean, it's getting harder and harder because we've had a push of what I call city-its from the city coming up, and they don't like anything to have to do with the outdoors. But, you know, it's still doable. You just got to be polite, you know, don't go like, you know, with sleeveless shirts on like I got right now and stuff, you know. If you got a little kid, if you got a little kid that you can take with you, maybe it not be your kid, but like maybe I robbed Frank's little guy and take him. Hey, I want to bring Junior out with me and teach him the outdoors. People got a soft spot for that too, so that helps.
I do want to take a second to pivot real quick here. Is Derek, when we've had you on the show, and we'll still get into these Magnus Broadheads and talking about media content, stuff like that. But one question though, I wrote it down here because I feel like I haven't asked you this. Can you describe a time when you felt you were at your absolute lowest in your hunting career, and one that you felt like you had to overcome that moment?
As far as like in the hunting industry, like as a career in the industry, you mean like in a hunting situation where
Let's do both.
Okay.
Let's do both.
I'd say as far as my hunting in the hunting industry goes, because it's turned into, again, I have a job as an engineer. However, the hunting industry has become a very nice side income stream for me. I keep joking that someday I'm if I do this much longer, I'm gonna have to make a decision. Do I want to stay as an engineer and do the hunting industry as a side gig, or do I just want to walk away from engineering and be fully employed through the hunting industry, which is multiple revenue streams? But with all that, you're like, that's awesome. Oh, my chair slid down on me there. You're like, man, that's pretty awesome, working in the hunting industry and getting paid. And it is, and it's awesome, but it can all be pulled right out from under you very fast. There's nothing that's guaranteed at all in the hunting space. And there's nothing that's guaranteed with anybody's job or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But you're basically freelancing in that space, and you've got contracts with different companies, and those contracts are typically good for a year or so. And the highest of high and the lowest of the low, all was within the same company. When I met Mike Somm, who owns Magnus, back in 2008 or 9 or whatever it was, and we hit it off, and he invited me in like 2010 or 11 to go to the first ATA show that I went to with him. I walk in ATA and you see these booths, and, you got pictures of Michael Waddell up there, larger than life, on the side of a booth, or, whoever, insert anybody, and all that. And you're like, man, how cool would it to be that person? And how cool would it to be in the magazines and stuff like that, and everything. Well, a few years ago, I landed a deal with Athens Archery. It was a bow manufacturer. Now, granted, it's not Matthews, it's not Bowtech, it's not Hoyt, but Athens has made some really damn good bows, and it's a bow manufacturer. Mm-hmm. And quickly in that deal that I landed with them, I became one of the faces of the brand. So I was in magazines, video content. We did, we filmed stuff for different TV shows. When you bought a new bow the last year that they were in business, when you bought a new bow, my face was hanging on the tag on the bows that got sold. And you're like, man, this is like the highest of highs. And then I walk in the ATA show the one year, and there I am, larger than life, on the side of, their booth.
I feel like I remember sharing that photo.
Yeah. And it's not like, again, hey, it's not, Michael Waddell on the side of the Hoyt booth or something like that, but still, it was a big deal. It was a real big deal to me. I was like, I couldn't believe it. And I, and you try and stay humble about it, like, holy shit, this is really happening. Mm-hmm. And then as fast as that rise went, the rug got jerked out from under me when they went out of business, because of their cam shifting technology and Bowtech, basically threatening to shut them down, which basically they did. And so that went from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows, because I was like, man, like, what the hell, man? I just like achieved this dream, and you just see this upward trajectory, and then you're just like, I mean, not that it was all crashing down. I had other, obviously, Magnus and some other contracts, but still, it was a big reality check, and opened my eyes to a lot of things. And I talked to a lot of people about it. Had a lot of calls from different people in the hunting industry. Went through some depression, actually, on the whole thing, everything. And then in the end, it all worked out. So that would probably, I would say, be the lowest of lows. Now I'm actually working with Dart and Archery on it from a bow side of things here. So, that was kind of the lowest, so far in the hunting space, as far as that goes. As far as hunting goes, I think that the lowest is really is any time you lose an animal, and some of them sting worse than others. So, that stinks. When you lose an animal, I mean, there's the buck right back here behind me over my shoulder right here. That animal I shot in October 3 years ago, I can't remember now. And then found him a little over a year later, actually almost a year and a half later, Found him dead. And I mean, I just, the whole season was just a train wreck because I kept trying to hunt him down, got pictures of him for several weeks after I had shot him, and then lost track of him. And so, I mean, that's a low. Anytime that you lose an animal, I think, I think it's a low. I mean, I don't, some bother you more than others do, but if you don't, I mean, if I shot a doe and couldn't find her. Oh, well, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to lose like many nights of sleep over it, but at the same time, I'm not going to be too happy with myself about it. So, I think anytime you lose an animal is pretty low, So
I remember it was, I want to say it was my third year hunting. It was like 14, 15 years old. And I'm sure you guys know 14, 15 years old, you think you're king badass out in the woods and this and that, like nothing, like you're indestructible. I remember taking the shot at a deer, and I still remember it like it happened yesterday. He came, I was able to call him from about 80 yards away and come underneath my stand. And he was basically 5 yards right in front of me, just directly below me. And I got greedy because it was a giant buck, what I thought was a giant buck at the time. And I pushed the shot, and it was basically just straight down. And I thought, well, if I get here, I could get the lung or this and that. And I took the shot, never found him. We went and tracked for like forever. And I told my dad the situation when I went up to the house, and he said, why the fuck would you take that type of shot? And just saying this and that. And basically kind of like making sure I drive home the point, like you got to take clean, ethical shots. That's what he was trying to do. But in the moment, I just feel like he was attacking me. But I'm glad he did it, because when we went out looking and just thinking back, it was like, yeah, I was a dumbass for taking that type of shot, and I just wounded this animal. And ever since then, I get very methodical with my preparation and practicing with my bow out in the woods. I mean, out here at home and taking the ethical shots. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure a lot of hunters out there, we try to push the limits with our shots, but we still try to do the clean, ethical shot that we can. And yeah, that's one that definitely sits at home. I think I probably missed about 5 deer where I can't find them, but that one sticks with me the most, because that was just a young, dumb decision for me at that point.
Yeah, I found many times when you try and force something, it usually doesn't end well,
No.
and it's whether you get in your own head and force it, or if you let the voices and the ghosts of, say, social media get in your head or something. You're like, oh man, so and so was razzing me about this or that or whatever. I'll show, prove it to them. I mean, we've all probably done it. Or you let a buddy or somebody get in your head and you force something, it rarely goes well. I mean, rarely ever. And I just have learned, the older I get, I find myself being more patient when it comes to hunting, and more just open to the fact that if it's meant to be today, it'll happen. If it's not, there'll be another day. And that's hard, especially if you're a guy who only gets to hunt like on Saturdays and Sundays over the course of maybe 3 or 4 weekends, through the course of the year. Unlike, me, I mean, I typically I can get out 60, 70, 80 sits in a season very easily, in my life. So it's easier said than done. But at the end of the day, I always find that patience is probably one of your best tools, and forcing something it just doesn't work out well oftentimes. So, but we still do it. I mean, you still, every once in a while, I catch myself like, okay, you could do it right now. And it's like the little devil figure sitting on your shoulder going, come on, do it, squeeze the trigger, You're like, man, maybe I should just wait. But anyway, so.
Yeah, there was my deer last year. I was very fortunate to harvest him, and I tell everyone, when you're out there in the woods, though, when you're just sitting in your tree stand, run scenarios through your head. Like, what if a deer comes from this area or this and that? Run every type of scenario that you could possibly think of, and just run it through your head and figure out what you would do in that scenario. And while you're out there, make sure you're ranging distances from tree points or whatever. That way, like, all right, that tree is over at least 30 yards. So if anything comes in there, it's 30 to 35 and stuff like that. I remember the deer I had come in last year. I arranged a tree grouping was about 22 yards away. And this one deer was coming in. He's walking somewhat fast, but if I didn't hit him at this point, I wasn't going to be able to get a shot off. I didn't have time to range him. All I remember was that was 22 yards away roughly. So he's just a little bit in front of it. So he's got to be at least 20 to 21 yards. Heck with it. Let's aim here and execute it. Now, I also have 20 years experience now underneath my belt and can do that type of mental judo type thing in my own head.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't been doing that, practicing it out here at home, like I remember having my wife, I would be like, all right, that tree is going to be 15 yards away. I need you to come between here and there and just run and stop at a second. And then I got to figure out, all right, you're probably going to be here. And then I'd stop and range him. Like, all right, I was a couple yards off.
Mm-hmm.
You got to practice this stuff in the off season. You can't just go out there and be like, all right, that's what they did here. So I'm going to do it out here in the woods now. So that's my mentality in a lot of things.
Yep. I think a lot of things too that people, take for granted is proficiency in their equipment and what they're capable of performing with it. If you buy the top shelf bow and, the best freaking carbon arrows out there and the best heads, and you just think, well, I don't have to really practice. I've bought the best of everything. The bow's going to do it himself. They get out there and, they wound one and, then they're mortified and they're devastated and they start kicking themselves in the ass and saying, I should have put more time into it. And, it's hard, man. I mean, I work 2 jobs. So, you get the time, but now I'm getting down to the last couple of weeks. I was just out tonight. I was shooting and my stuff is working right. And, I make sure I'm proficient. And don't get me wrong. Things happen, sometimes, last year I hit a buck high in the shoulder, a little forward, and I really pissed myself off. I try not to make bad shots on animals, but from every hard lesson that you go through, it also hardens you, it teaches you, it sharpens you. And the old saying is iron sharpens iron. And those tough lessons make you a legend someday. They make you a better hunter. And anybody that says they haven't gone through the lows of hunting and missing and wounding animals and stuff. I mean, can you freaking imagine, like, my bloodline, American Indians? Can you imagine them all sitting around going, well, tomorrow I'm going to shoot a big buck? Dude, they were hunting for food. How many animals do you think they wounded with what they were shooting? You think we're the first hunters to go out there and, wing an arrow at something and hope we hit it? I mean, they didn't care. They weren't in no sights, no rangefinders. They just knew what they knew. And if they killed the animal, they killed it. If they didn't, they got to be really good trackers, and there was 50 or 60 guys in a party and they would hunt that thing down till it died. So, we're taking it to the level of it's a game. It's something that you do on the weekend. And yeah, I mean, I enjoy every part of it. I love to meet. And I still to this day are one of the only hunters that you'll see give an animal his Indian last rites. I actually hold their head up. I draw air from their snout and I blow it back up into the air. And then I take the blood and I mark both sides of my face. And that's the respect earned back to that animal to release his spirit back to the wild. And I do it with anything. And I make sure everybody that hunts with me, whether they're new at it or they've been seasoned hunters, if you're on my ground and you're hunting the animals that I'm after, you don't do that, that's the last time you come out in the woods with the Squatch. So it's a respect thing. And there's just so many people that don't have respect for the animals. They just think it's no big deal. And that really burns me when I see something like that happen. But that's also why it hurts me so bad and so deep when I screw up, because I owe it to that animal to make every attempt. I mean, I hit a buck one year, man. It was a 14 pointer. And believe me, I know this sounds like every damn deer story you ever heard. It was probably the biggest buck I ever seen in my life. I made a bad shot on him. I chased that deer for 3 weeks trying to find him. And I was in swamps up to my waist, thinking he went in the water. I'll find him. Listen to crows. I mean, it ruined me. I basically, everybody's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm done. I'm not hunting anymore. I screwed up. They're like, come on, man, you'll be all right. And let me tell you, it took me a long time. And
Mm-hmm.
I was pissed, like 60% of it. I was really pissed at myself. But the 40% of it, more on top of it, was just, I know I hurt that animal. And I knew, like, I didn't make the best possible shot I could. Like he's saying, like, you got that devil on your shoulder. Squeeze off. If I waited a couple more seconds, I probably would have had a perfect shot. So that's why I said, I'm up there too. I'm 50.
Mm-hmm.
I've been hunting a long time, since I was a little kid. So, let's say 40 something years being out in the woods. I hunted with my grandfather before I could even hold a gun in my hand. I've been through the experiences. I've seen what people go through. And you know what's nice, even though sometimes it's a little bit of a burden, people confide in you because they have the faith in knowing that you've seen the stuff that's going on. You're a warrior. You've been in this fight, chasing these animals. You've seen what equipment does when it fails, and it's nice. People call on me, hey, I got this going on, or this happened with that animal. And you know what? It's a blessing to be able to take that and say, look, do this, or hold on, don't do that. Let me look at it, or whatever. And, the older you get, you become, like Derek was saying, you become more patient. You become more, years ago, I was a killer. If it was brown, it was down. I shot so many deer, my father would take the belt to me because he was so pissed off. He came home and there was another deer hanging in the garage. And, not to get off on a tangent, but you learn as you get older, your time is short. So, like the 35 that my dad bought me when I was 15 years old, I'm sitting there in the woods and I look at that gun and I go, what year is it? Oh, yeah, it's 2025. Holy cow, I've been holding this gun that long. And then the flashes, like snapshots, go off in your head. Hey, remember back in 93 when I got that and I shot that 8-pointer and he came tumbling down over the rock wall, or I was up, in the Catskill Mountains and I blasted that bear and he almost landed on me. All these snapshots in your brain keep going off. And believe me, it passes you by faster than you think. So it's an important thing to enjoy what we do. Make hunters look good. Don't be somebody who's not good out there that just does wrong, and there's so much evil in this world. And, you touched on it when you started the show, what happened to Charlie Kirk. And, it's this, we need more good in this world. There's too much evil. There's just too much evil. Help your brothers out. Don't bash people in the hunting industry. Help each other out. Be there for somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. Don't turn your back, just do what's right for people. Show that good.
Derek, we got about like 15 minutes left with the show here with you. So with Magnus, let's dive into that for a little bit.
Yep.
What's new? Is there anything new that you could tell us? I know there's the company, so you got to have a lot of closed door meetings and stuff like that you can't release. But is there anything new?
Well, I'm trying. I'm trying to have something new, but I can't really talk about it. So we came out a couple of years ago with our 150 grain single bevel, 2-blade single bevel, and then this past year ago, I guess this past January, 125 version of it. So we've got those. We do have a left hand of the 125 that's we initially released them both right hand. Then we got feedback. People said, no, you got to have left hand. This was when we did the 150. So we made a left hand because it wasn't that big of a deal. to make it, and didn't sell any. I mean, hardly sold any. But everybody said you have to have left hand because naturally arrows clock left because
Yep.
the bulk of strings are twisted such that they clock left, and therefore nobody will buy right hand single bevels. And that was complete baloney because that's all anybody ever wanted to buy. So, I mean, I can't remember, as of like last spring, we had sold, or yeah, it was spring or something like that. We had sold, I don't know, 25, 30 packages of left-hand single bevel, and thousands and thousands and thousands of packages of right-hand single bevel. So we do have a left-hand single bevel coming in the 125. There was something going on. I don't know why it's being delayed, but it is coming out. I do have something in the works that we've thrown in front of our patent attorney. He's given us the go-ahead to start doing some prototypes, so we are working on that. I'm hoping to have some prototypes, and we'll see how it goes from there. So hopefully we'll have a new head in the near future. But beyond that, we're just really focused on more efficiency. We bought another machining center a year or so ago, so we were able to more than double, because it's a much more efficient machining center than our other one. So we were able to more than double our machining capacity. We've added some employees. Mike Somm himself, who started Magnus 41 years ago, he wants to retire. He's kind of phasing himself out of day-to-day operations. So we have a new gentleman by the name of Brett Parker. He's our new president of Magnus, and Brent and I work together quite a bit. We talk to each other at least once a week, and sometimes more than that. And he's doing really well and coming online. He was a Magnus shooter before this, and he came out of Brownells, actually, from the gun side of things, from a marketing and management standpoint. So he's got a good head on his shoulders. He's got some good ideas. He's bringing some new ideas in, which are great. He and I get along well. We talk every week, if not more than once a week. Cool. And bounce a lot of good ideas off of each other. And, he'll say, hey, I'm thinking about, improving this process. We just had a process that goes into one of our broadheads. That's a little bit tedious. And he was bouncing ideas off of me the other day, a couple of weeks ago, on how to make it more efficient and streamlined. And, I was explaining, he's like, well, what if we did this? I'm like, well, we can't really do that because of this, but what we could do is take what you're talking about and maybe attack it from this other angle here. And so we tend to flush a lot of stuff like that out. So really the focus is just getting better, is continuing, to be there for the customers and customer support, the warranty. It was his idea, actually, to go to a new online form system for the warranty, which makes things easier for everybody than the old email system that we used in the past. So he's bringing in a lot of that good new ideas, and we got some new stuff, in the works. He wants to get some updated merchandise, some updated graphics on shirts and hats and some different things like that, and bring them in. We are having a whole new website being built right now, which should work better and be more intuitive and make the overall online shopping experience better through the Magnus. So, those are the things we're kind of focusing on right now.
I've been trying to look up Magnus for like the last 2 days, and I can't get the website to come up. Is the website down?
No, it wasn't to my knowledge, but I've been sitting on a beach the last few days, so I've not really
typing in Magnus
on
Broadheads for the website, and nothing comes up.
I'm on my phone right now, and came up on my phone.
What the heck?
So looks like it's going well.
Well, maybe my computer's just stupid, I guess. I don't know. But no, that was one thing that was so his name Brent or Brett?
Brent, Brent. Oh,
Oh, so it's close
Parker.
to a cool name like mine. Just one letter off.
Yeah. Brent.
No, that's one thing I thought, all the hunting companies out there with broadheads, whatever, bows of their merchandise. I was like, man, if Magnus just did this, or if they did this, or just let me take control of social media for them, they promote this side and promote this here and there, man, they could just like flourish in their own way. And I was like,
well, yeah, well,
a little more and more, but I know Mike was a very, I don't want to use the word controlling, but he was like, it was his thing. So I don't blame him.
Well, it's his baby.
Yeah, it's his baby. He didn't want
Magnus is his baby, and he's very much, he's been burnt in the past years ago by different people. I mean, you're in business this long, you get burnt by business partners, investors, employees, people you sponsor or whatever. And so him kind of deciding it was time to retire and phase himself away. And he still is there. He goes into the shop about 3 days a week for a little while every day or every week. And, but he's phasing himself out. One of those things started with, like, I've been with Mike again since 2009, and we've had this professional relationship. I'm always there on the R&D side, the tech support side, helping develop new products, bounce ideas. But then finally this past winter, I got him to walk away from the pro staff. I'm like, dude, just walk away from the pro staff. Just give it to me and let me run it. And if nothing else, it's just one less burden on his thing. And I think it's improved. I mean, there's some things that I want to do different with it, and all that, and there's going to be some more changes that come about next year. And then after the pro staff and Brent got involved, there was and this is not knocking our previous social media manager. He was a great guy, but he'd done it for many years, and it was the same thing all the time. And we were like, let's change things up. And so I was like, well, what do you want to do, Brent? And Brent goes, I want you to take it over. I was like, well, I don't know. I've never done social media. I've never managed it for a company. And he's like, well, worst thing that happens is it continues on the way it's been. So, you're not going to do any, not that he was doing a bad job, but you're not going to do any worse. So, yeah. And so I think that we've improved that as well. The engagement, when I look at the analytics on it, the engagement since I took over in early June is way up. We're trying to give, when you do a broadhead company, you get a lot of trophy photos, which are awesome. We want to share everybody's success that they have in the field. But for the longest time, it was like, hey, here's Derek. Here's the deer he shot in Indiana with a Magnus Stinger Buzzcut broadhead. And that was it. And now we're trying to get more context. So, like, say, Brent, if you sent in a picture of a deer that you killed this year, typically I'd be like, hey, Brent, congratulations. Hey, can you give me like 3 or 4 sentences about your hunt? I mean, what was it about the hunt or the product or whatever? Just give me something. And then I post that dial a little bit of that. I mean, usually it's word for word, but if I've got to clean up, the English, I will. But I think that becomes a little more engaging for those people who are looking at that when they go, oh man, okay, here's the story of this, or they tell about the great customer service, or, how they've been shooting Magnus heads for the last 10 years. And this elk that they shot went 50 yards and tipped over or whatever, I had one the other day. It was a doe. They say just a doe. It was a guy, he killed a whitetail doe, and he's like, yeah, this is my first archery kill ever. I hunt from the ground with a 45-pound bow, and I wanted a broadhead that I knew could perform at low poundage and all that, and very impressed with your product. So when you put all that stuff in those posts, they become more engaging. And then also throwing in, some stuff of, pictures of what we do at the factory. I was throwing up some old retro photos, some old stuff of Mike and everything. And the engagement's just gone up through the roof. So those are some changes that we've made, and, it's been good. I mean, it's more on my shoulders to do, but it's not bad. I mean, at first I kind of felt like the dog that caught the car, and I was like, oh shit, now what do I do with it? But, but as I got going, I kind of learned, it's like, all right, I I make 4, sometimes 5 posts a week, and they don't take very long to do. And I try and keep them relevant and current. And if we don't have anything good to post, it's no shame in skipping a day either, too. So
I know people love to see that behind the doors, behind the scenes type content type deal. Like people love that. They get fascinated. Like, ooh, I see everything here, but what do you guys do back there? Maybe I could take some ideas from that and I can apply it to my own type of stuff. I know I'm like a behind the scenes junkie when it comes to that stuff. So I love that. So when I saw those old retro photos of those broadheads and stuff that you were posting there, man, it was so sweet to see. And
those were cool. Yeah,
that was really cool, actually.
There's a lot of history there. If Mike would just step out of his office and let me go rifling through drawers and stuff, I'm sure I could come up with some real gems next time I'm out there. But yeah, I mean, every once in a while. And the funny thing is, because he's lived it, he doesn't really find that much fascination in it. But like Brent and I, when we were out there, we were going through this last time I was out there in June, we were going through the closet that's got all of the old shirts and stuff in it. And we were finding original Magnus snuffer shirts and snuffer hats in like Advantage timber camo and stuff like that. And Brent and I were just like, I mean, I loaded up a box. It was a huge box and FedExed it home. And in fact, my daughter tonight was running around wearing a Snuffer SS t-shirt that we haven't made in probably 15 years, So yeah, Ben Mike's like, oh, that old stuff, I don't need any of that. But Brent and I are like, this stuff's cool, man, And so yeah, finding some old packages of broadheads or photos, or I was finding parts to Magnus rack packs that we haven't made for the last 12, 13 years probably. I was like, hey, I need a new seat for one of my rack packs. So I was grabbing parts, and so yeah, I mean, there's just tons of history there that he just kind of. He sweeps it under the table, but again, he's lived it for so long, so.
Yeah, it'd be cool. Maybe do like the very first one or the original broadhead type deal, and then just do like a cool history thing down the road, and then bam, here's the new one type deal.
Well, I wanted to do something like that a year ago when Magnus turned 40, and I really wanted to do something along those lines with him, explaining stuff, and he shut me down. He's like, no, I don't want to do anything. I don't want. So I put something together. It was like a year 40 video and stuff that I narrated and everything. But I really wanted to go out there and do something like what you're saying, that we could talk about the original products and have him in his words, and go out to his mom and dad's house where there was a shed out back that he started the company in and stuff like that. But he likes to he doesn't like doing this stuff. This is why I'm always the one who does this type of stuff on Magnus's behalf. He doesn't like being that. He tells, when people see him and they're like, do you really work for Magnus? What do you do there? He's like, yeah, I'm the janitor. That's what he tells them. It's like, I'm the janitor.
Nice.
Which isn't a lie, but so
That's cool.
Anyway.
Well, Derek, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to come on the show. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for everything that Magnus done for me. And I love Magnus, man. It's been my go-to broadhead since when I first started hunting. I was 12 years old, and I think my very first one broadhead was a Crimson Raptor mechanical. Those were back in the days. And then I tried some other ones, and then my dad saw this one that Ted Nugent was when he was with Magnus. He had the one that I'm actually using now, and ever since then, I've been using those Magnus broadheads my entire life. So I think it's going on now roughly 10 plus now that I've been shooting Magnus.
There you go,
man, Magnus right there.
I shot Magnus for years. I used to shoot them.
There you
go. I used to use them a lot with my recurve stuff.
Yeah.
I liked them. I like, like you said about that gentleman, you wanted something that would be on a low poundage bow, even though I was pulling a 60-pound recurve, but they were pretty cool. I'm a big fan of Ted Nugent, and he was shooting them at the time, and I was like, I'll try them out. They were good. I well, nothing against them. They were a good broadhead.
Yeah.
Still
well,
are.
I mean,
Still are.
We like to think we're the best of the cut on contact fixed blade heads out there. I mean, if that's what if that's what your flavor is, and I get it, Some people love mechanicals. That's awesome. No, no shade towards them. If that's what they want to shoot, go for it. Some people like chisel tips, or they like whatever features. And we are straight up cut on contact, no baloney, made in the USA, lifetime warranty. And, here we are 41 years in business and still clicking on. So
that says a lot. 41 years in business. It's a good run.
Yep, definitely is.
People on our team. So I'm a big Magnus guy. A couple of members on the team, they're big rec guys because they love that mechanical. They love that. That's what fits their style. And
yeah,
one thing we said from the beginning with Whitetail Advantage was if everyone has like a team or a company that they love the most, they promote it. We promote it here all together on one show. And that's why we have Magnus down there and rec together, because we have teammates that believe in their product, and it's me as the teammate. I believe in Magnus. And everyone's going to have their own thing when it comes to hunting products that they believe in, and it's their go-to thing. And sometimes something might work for someone's bow set compared to somebody else. So just for me personally, I love the cut on contact with Magnus. I love what it offers for me in my setup. That's why I strongly push for Magnus.
Well, we appreciate it. So
before we let you go, though, Derek, I got 4 rapid fire questions for you. Okay.
Okay. All
right. What animal is on your bucket list to hunt?
Right now on my bucket list to hunt is Cape Buffalo.
Ooh. I think that's the first one. I haven't heard someone on the show say Cape Buffalo.
Cape Buffalo. Yep.
What is the top state you want to try hunting?
For whitetails, I would say Iowa. I've been putting in for points, but one of these days I'll get drawn and go out there and hunt.
There you go.
If you could pick anybody to go on a hunting trip with or share a campfire with one time, who would that person be?
It's my daughters, both of them still. And I've shared hunting camp with them a zillion times. It still is. They're the number ones. And of the two, because my oldest doesn't hunt anymore, so I've got to say my youngest, Sydney, she's my hunting buddy, and I'll pick her before I'll pick anybody else to go hunt with. So
that's awesome. Great. Last question here. What do we need to do to improve the hunting community?
Come together and stop bitching at each other and stop, and I get it. I mean, we're all guilty of it. I got to be careful what I say because I work in this space and I sell broadheads to not only vertical bow hunters but crossbow hunters, and I like to pick on crossbow hunters. But we got to be careful. We can't. I mean, it's one thing to rib on your buddy because he decides to hunt a different way than you do or whatever. And we can all have our attitudes and preferences. I mean, I have nothing against gun hunting. I just really don't do it very often. I mean, occasionally late season, I'll take a rifle out if I want to go, or a muzzleloader, and go throw a doe in the freezer, but it's just not really my thing. And crossbows aren't my thing, but we all need to stay humble and support each other and realize that we are all in this together. And support each other, even though we have differences in the way we do it. I mean, I'm not a big fan of baiting, but I got to support, my fellow hunters over across the line in Ohio where they bait. If I just say that baiting sucks, and if you bait, you're not an ethical hunter and this and that, I just alienate an entire state of people that I have friends in. I mean, just because we can't bait here and I'm not really a big bait guy, doesn't mean that baiting's wrong or high fence or, whatever it is, so we just all need to learn to support each other and stop fighting.
I think we can take a lesson from the hunting because we try to think that because we're hunters and this and that, we think that we're better, baby, but we're the same thing that's happening in the hunting community is the same thing that's happening out in the real world. People might have different viewpoints or different angles or beliefs than what you do. And so for everyone on the team, we all have our products that we believe in, the way we hunt, all this and that. Between us on the team, we fuck with each other and we joke with each other. But at the end of the day, I support Squatch, I support Dave, I support Johnny, I support Frank. I'm going to give them crap for whatever they do it, whatever like that, because they're my friends, they're my brothers. That's what we do. But at the same time, I support them. And the same thing we need to do in real life is we need to come together and support each other no matter what. I'm going to make fun of people no matter what. That's what I do on this show. And that's what I have. I speak my mind. That's what we do. But I'm also willing to have, like Charlie Kirk, have an open dialogue with people.
Right.
And like you said perfectly, we just need to learn to come together. And even though you might have different beliefs or different ways about hunting and stuff and however you want to go about it, just because somebody's different on the way that they want to hunt doesn't mean that you should just be like, oh, nope, you do it that way, so you're wrong. Support each other and let's have fun and you can be able to go out there and hunt and enjoy it. At the end of the day, enjoy it. That's it's the most funnest thing, and it's the healthiest version of crack. I say it all the time. It's amazing. So enjoy it.
It is. That's right. That it is.
Anyway, Derek, I want to say thank you again for coming on the show. I greatly appreciate it. Before we'll end on you, Squatch, how can people reach out to you and find you, man?
Well, you guys all know on Sundays and Tuesday nights here on the Whitetail Advantage, you'll see me. Also on Boondocks Outdoors, Mike Nitre, and the rest of the bunch down there. I got Instagram, Outdoors and More with the Squatch, and my YouTube channel that's going to be firing back up now to hunting season's here. Get some videos out there for you, some fresh, clean kills.
Derek, how about you, man?
My preferred way everybody gets a hold of me is go to YouTube and go look up New Day Outdoors Productions and hit the subscribe button, please. That's where I post the most stuff. You can find me on Instagram at New Day Outdoors. I have a New Day Outdoors Facebook page. I don't do a lot with it. You can look up Derek Craig myself on Facebook, send me a friend request. But really YouTube is where it's at. And so here we are getting in ready to fall. There'll be some more hunting videos coming and gear videos and stuff like that. So I try and keep something all year. There's all kinds of different stuff there, a little bit for everybody. So
I love it. When's your hunting season start? It's October 1st, right?
Tomorrow morning.
Oh, it starts in tomorrow.
So I have, Indiana technically starts October 1st, but I have what's called reduction zone properties. We have a reduction zone season on special properties, and I happen to have a property that's in a reduction zone. It starts September 15th. So, and it's an earn a buck zone. You have to shoot, you get a second buck tag because we're a $1 state. You can get a second buck tag in these reduction zones, but you have to kill a doe before you kill a buck. So, yeah, so I start tomorrow, but I have appointments tomorrow morning. So I might make it out tomorrow evening. I bet I probably will. In fact, I know I will because I'm dying to get in a tree. So
right, I'll find the time no matter what. I don't
have any of my stuff around and ready, so it's going to be a scramble. And then I'm going to get out in the woods and go, oh, shit, I don't have this, and I forgot that, and I feel like an idiot. But I'm sure I'll probably go tomorrow night. So
just don't forget to order your broadheads because you're gonna.
I do have those. I do have those.
I remember last year I was like, man. I just remember I don't have anything put around. Like it was just bad last year. But I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'm still going. It's October 1st. I don't care.
Yeah, all my stuff's just spread all over. So I'll grab a bunch of stuff, and thankfully I hunt mostly private land, and where my reduction zone is, I've been hunting for like 28 years there. It's you know where the deer are and aren't and what they do, and so it's. And if I forget something, it's 150-yard walk back to the truck. It's not the end of the world. So
nice.
Well, good luck on your hunting season then, Derek.
So, all right. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
See you guys. Have a great rest of your night.
All right.
Bye.
Oh, man. Well, everyone, that's going to conclude another episode of the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. Thank you for gathering around the electronic campfire. Now, if this show made you laugh, made you think, gave you new perspective, please hit that like and subscribe button. If you listen to this on the audio version, please give us that 5-star rating and also give us your feedback. The audio versions of our podcast gets released every Monday and Wednesday at 5 a.m. Eastern Time. And now that we got 2 new shows on Whitetail Advantage, the Frank and Squat Show and Mysteries in the Timber, those we're starting to figure out when they're going to be getting released. We're trying to figure out when we're going to be recording. Some of those might be doing live shows too. Those details are going to be still worked out. But most likely what we're going to be doing with those, every other Friday, you're going to either get a episode of the Frank and Squat Show or the Mysteries in the Timber Show. So we're looking forward to that. And like always, if you want to be a guest on the show, reach out to us on social media or head to our website, whitetailadvantage.com. Thank you to all the companies we've teamed up with us here at Whitetail Advantage. I know I'm going on and on. I'm almost done with the outro. Don't worry. Last part, here it comes. Don't forget to put your cord in the slot machine. Help share the show. Help grow the show. Thank you to everyone out there that's part of Whitetail Advantage Brotherhood. And we'll see everyone next time.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next time.